problems. And over time, as we eliminated these elements, her blood sugar improved to such an extent that her insulin requirements were so low, some doctors didn't think she was a diabetic. It was remarkable. So there was conclusive empirical evidence on those grounds. Combine that with extensive reading. Remember, that's the time around the Olympics where everybody was gorging pasta. All the Olympic athletes were gorging pasta and carbo loading.
Yeah, carbo loading. That's right. I remember that specifically. Right.
Yes, and so here I was flying against against all the accepted wisdom. But of course, that's been proven now. I think abundantly, the research shows that the low carb diet is far superior to other forms of restricting dietary intake or even total calories. In fact, the recent New England Journal of Medicine just had a very fine, large sample, 2-year study comparing the American Heart Association diet and so forth. I'll put it up on my blog, and the results are quite compelling.
Yeah, and the Atkins diet was the one that worked the best, correct?
It was indeed. Right. On every level, the lipid profiles, the hormone profiles, the C-reactive protein, the glycosylation, you go right on down the list.
Sure.
And it heralds all the other diets quite readily. And weight loss, not to mention weight loss, and blood pressure, the whole 9 yards. So it's confirmation, but again, I've been doing this for so long, and my metabolic profile is like that of a young man. My hormone profile is because I'm lean and muscular and have very little body fat.
Right.
Body fat is dangerous stuff, particularly the visceral adipose tissue. That will age you.
You're talking about the body fat, like around the waist.
Yes, but it's deep underneath the stomach muscles, so it doesn't show in the normal way. You get that protruding abdominal muscle, but you're not obviously fat in a subcutaneous way, just under the surface of the skin.
Right.
That is a very dangerous fat. It's metabolically active. It intrudes into the organs, climbs into your liver. It's right next to the portal vein, so it dumps all kinds of bad signals into the liver, uses the liver. It's clearly the heart of the metabolic syndrome, which I happen to feel is the source of Western accelerated aging. We are aging at an accelerated rate here in the West.
I'm very worried myself about the current generation, the younger generations, and how it seems they may have even gotten worse from a metabolic perspective, with more sugar and more high glycemic index foods. And I'm wondering if we're going to lose some of the gains that we've made on average lifespan in the United States, given the poor diet of the younger generation.
I definitely agree with you, because the current generation of age didn't come through that kind of puberty. In the lives of their teens and their 20s, they were lean. You can see pictures of people. It's very remarkably different now.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I recall seeing a picture of my father went to a religious school and he was young, and they had a 100-year anniversary of that school, and they showed pictures of all the school children. And back in the day, the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they were all farm kids. And they were all lean. It wasn't until the 80s and 90s when more overweight children started showing up in the pictures. It seems 70s, 80s, 90s. So yeah, certainly there's a historical record on that. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about, someone asked a question about this prior to our interview here tonight, and that is about fats, and particularly saturated fats. And in prior occasions, you've stated that you remove most of the fat from any meat that you eat, and you want to avoid fats from meats and saturated fats. And there's a particular fellow here, Taubes, who has published some research on saturated fats. I'm not sure if you are familiar with it at all. The fellow's last name is spelled Taubes, and he couldn't find a real link between fat and incidence of heart disease or diabetes or metabolic syndrome.
I certainly agree with that.
Okay.
my feeling is that there's enough intramuscular fat and intermuscular fat in most things you eat that it doesn't hurt to cut off the outer edges.
Ah, I see.
That's basically my point. And those are the edges that tend to be oxidized too in this display case. If they turn kind of brown,
yeah,
they're undergoing an oxidative reaction, and so they're in the process of becoming rancid, and therefore a source of free radicals.
Sure.
So it's just it's partly the taste, partly I don't like chewing the real heavy, thick fat.
Yeah.
That's really all. I completely agree about the otherwise. Now it is true, however, that diabetics do have a form of lipotoxicity in the beta cell receptors of the pancreas, and they, in fact, in the study we just talked about, those with diabetes didn't fare quite as well on the high-fat diet as others did. They fared better than they did on the AHA diet, but not quite as well. And that's their problem, of course, is they have so much body fat that the lipotoxicity, that is the fat poisoning, comes primarily from their own fats, their circulating levels of triglycerides. And they can't access their triglycerides because they got all this insulin in their system, and it shuts down fat burning.
Okay.
So paradoxically, they are, fat. They got lots of circulating fat in their bloodstream, but they can't burn the stuff.
Yeah, I understand that. One thing I wanted to talk to you about also, as far as the evolutionary fitness program goes, I was just thinking about your advice that you give, that you talk about just exercising 40 minutes in any particular workout session. Or any type of activity. The other day, I just spent about an hour playing basketball, which is pretty high intensity, workout. And then I went and lifted, did an upper body workout immediately after for 20 minutes. And now you would say that's a little bit longer time span of high intensity activity as compared to what our ancestors went through. So you would say, that's why you go with the 40-minute limit?
No, I think there really are no limits. And remember, the basketball is this kind of burst rest interval type activity.
It is very much so.
Really quite marvelous stuff, because it gives a chance to shoot up your growth hormone and your adrenaline, and then they come down during the brief rest that you always get in a basketball game, and then they shoot up again, and so you're getting a nice pulsate release type of pattern instead of letting your stress hormones won't come creeping up on you. If you spent that same time on the treadmill, you'd probably be awash in stress hormones, particularly intensity.
Really?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. And moreover, you would have next to no growth hormone release either, because the intensity is not sufficient. And it's just sort of a grind on your joints. It doesn't get above the threshold where you start to get adaptation. So everybody should walk, but it's really one of the last things you should do. You should walk after your workout, because your workout mobilizes fat and growth hormones. So you're a fat burning animal right after you work out. And you should enjoy that. In fact, I would have, were I to advise you, do the workout before you play basketball.
Oh, the bench press and whatnot, the upper body workout, and then go play. Okay.
Yes. Make it brief and intense, just a few things, and then do a couple of high-speed movements. Do some squats, do some deep knee bends.
Sure. And
you will be amazed. This is what Penny Hardaway and a lot of them NBA players do, actually. And the evidence is clear that improves your running economy, and it actually activates, kind of presets you for really intense activity.
Okay. Yeah, and I've seen pictures. I mean, you've posted some pictures on your blog, and obviously you have a pretty, you're a very muscular fellow for your age, and it's hard to believe that you only do two, say, weightlifting workouts a week, and yet you're able to achieve that level of musculature. Is that correct?
Actually, that's really the only way you can do it.
I guess I did.
It's the best way. I am able to do that because the workouts are pretty intense, and then you need